Super awesome. Wow. This is incredible. I've been listening to you for a decade. What I wanted to talk about was my daughter. I got married, was married for 20 years. That relationship ended, and she never wanted to have kids. And my second wife, when I met her, there was nobody else you could imagine wanting to be a mom and wanting to be the mother. So it was a transition for me. But when you said, go out and have kids, that inspired me to want to see what that was like, to understand that experience. And it's been crazy because raising a girl and letting her understand from the beginning, her mom and dad are telling her, no, you're an infinite being. This is a journey for you that you've chosen to make. Having her understand those things from a very young age.
Or giving her the petri dish in which her understanding could continue to survive in a world where it usually doesn't.
Right. Giving her those foundations to build from.
She was born with the foundations. You just didn't knock them out from under her like most parents do.
And when she was 2.5 or something like that, we sent her off to preschool. And I started with this rhythm of when I would put her in the car the very first time, I said, what's the most important thing? To have fun. I said, if you get in the room and the other people aren't having fun, you show them how. And I started saying that to her, and now she's almost 5. When I say, what's the most important thing? She says, to have fun. So she knows that. She understands that that's what you go back to. But the thing...
Did she ever catch you in a moment of not having fun?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Is she starting to give it back to you a little bit?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Her thing when mommy and daddy are arguing is be nice, be nice. So she's constantly teaching us things. And I'm always looking out for that. The focus of she is free and I am merely her guide. That I don't control her, I don't regulate her, and her grandma is very religious.
You are her advocate. Let her guide be her guide.
Okay. Her advocate, all right.
You are the one who roots for her the most strong. You are the one who expects good things to come to her.
Right.
You're the one who knows deeply who she really is. Yes. You are the one who knows that she has a guide who is offering her. And so you are the one that encourages through your wanting for her to have fun, to be in the receptive mode of that which is her guide.
Yes. So what I wanted to talk about was the things that surprised me, because you raise this creature to understand who she is, and then you watch. And you have always said that children who come into the world are much more connected to who they actually are and where they came from. So it always surprises me sometimes that she embraces emotions. She has emotions and they go off the charts. They see things that surprise us, she doesn't empathize with us. Like her mommy is having an emotional reaction in the front seat and she's sitting in the back seat. She doesn't empathize or want mommy to feel better. She wants to have the same emotion. So she starts creating her own drama that's like mommy's so she can experience that emotion the same way. And so my question is, why?
Don't you find that children often mimic everything? Especially as you present yourself to them as the wiser, the more knowing. And so as they watch you do anything, don't they want to mimic it? And so why would that be different?
See, I was looking for something more profound. That makes perfect sense.
Well, can you teach someone how to ride a bicycle just by riding it around in front of them? Or do they need to get on? So does watching someone have emotions help you to know about emotions? Or do you have to feel them yourself? And isn't it also a logical thing? This is the profound thing you're looking for.
Good.
Isn't it also a logical thing, since almost everyone, even the new little ones coming in, they do offer most of their vibration in response to what they are observing. And that's why when we say you teach through the clarity of your example, you're wanting to give the example of that which when they observe it, they then have the experience that you would prefer that they have.
Right. When she was a little tiny baby, it's really hard when you're raising a baby and they start crying and they're very unhappy and you want them to not be that way. It makes you frustrated. It makes you feel that way. And it was something that I developed very early on in that relationship where I said, no, don't emulate her. Show her the way it's supposed to be.
Because you can't soothe someone if you're all tense. So you have to soothe yourself first before you can soothe someone else, which is exactly what you just said.
Right. So now it's been a habit that I've managed to maintain, the idea that when she gets upset and she's freaking out, I don't. I just relax and go and smile at her and say, yeah, but that's okay. Right. And
you could throw in, if you wanted to, because she's old enough to understand it, that Your emotions are so good, sweetheart, because you can feel when you're helping yourself and when you're not. And you're really the only one who really can. Mommy and I can't do enough to change the way you feel. And even if we tried, it would not be good for you. It's so much better when you are able to find it on your own.
Good.
And those words were our words to you, not your words to her.
Ah? Well, I'll have to listen to that several times, I think, before I'll get it. One of the things I've noticed in listening to you as much as I have is that I get different stuff at different modes of my time, because I would go through periods where I would listen to you every day, and sometimes I would hear things that I never heard before, even in the same exact tape.
Well, we're speaking to you at all levels of your receptive mode. And depending upon where you are, you hear different things. And so that's the fun of this co-creative experience, is that the combination of who you all are, you bring your inner beings when you come to a gathering like this. So the collective consciousness is extraordinary in a conversation like this. And so when you accept that your own inner being, who you really are, knows all that you've become and is living that, and therefore has affected a point of attraction that is strong. Strong isn't a strong enough word. There's a point of attraction that your inner being is causing to happen, that you have a constant relationship with. So when you give in to that point of attraction, when you give in to your happiness, like the little ones still want to, when you give in to your worthiness and you give in to your clarity, when you just give into it by no longer trying to defend it or prove it, you just give into it because it is the most dominant, it is the most natural, then everything sort of shifts around you and you no longer argue for your limitations. Instead, you are a self-advocate of what you're wanting. This conversation has been unique, they always are, but satisfying on deep, deep levels for us today, because the attention to what you're doing in relationship to what your inner being is doing has come up again and again and again. If you don't consciously acknowledge and then accomplish, but acknowledge and then accomplish a relationship with that broader point of attraction, then you can't understand anything that's ever happening to you. And that's why your little one is testing those waters, trying to feel it out, because she knows how she usually feels and she knows how she's supposed to feel. And she is amazingly, deliberately, just like you acknowledged, trying to feel that emotion that didn't at that point come natural to her at all, in order to understand her own guidance system. And if left to her own devices, we promise you that she would gravitate to what feels good every single time. So the question that as parents or as mentors or as voters or as advocates or teachers or harmonizers of anything, the question that you want to ask yourself is, how can I in this moment be a catalyst to whoever I'm focused upon's alignment? Not competing, because all that competition from down here in these squabbling places is of no value at all. How can I be an advocate, an inspirer, or a promoter, or a helper? Or the best word is, how can I be a soother? How can I soothe someone? How can I talk them off the ledge? And so we think you've figured it out for the most part. Your encouragement to your little one, what is the purpose of what you're going to do today? It's to have a good time. The purpose of life really is joy. That is the purpose of your life experience. It is joy. But when you make the purpose growth, then you get sideways. There's this triad of intentions. You hear us say it, of freedom and growth and joy. You're so free you can choose bondage. But when you think that growth is your quest, then you get all cattywampus, because now you're having to find some way of measuring it, and now you're involving other people, and it gets all out of balance. But when you know what you taught to your little one, and she reflects back to you all day, every day, that joy is the quest. It's what you're here for. Then you gravitate to your alignment, and then everything follows that. Everything follows that. You'll never be free unless you are free from the resistance that you put in your own way. Nobody else can ever bind you. But as you put resistance in your own way, you are bound, you see. We took a little sidetrack there because we could feel the depth of what you were presenting. Is there something more you want to talk about?
Just the rocks hurt. Remember, you used to use that analogy of the river and used to say that when you have a fast-moving stream, the rocks hurt. And sometimes I find that the rocks not only hurt, they actually throw you off course. They actually throw you in a thing where you start finding yourself struggling, and you actually aren't even aware of it until later. And to me, that's the struggle that I think Abraham doesn't get. That's the struggle that the group of you don't get, is sort of like, it's really hard. It really becomes difficult. When you even understand the way it flows, it's really hard.
But this is the part that we don't get. This is really what we don't get. We don't get why, when something hurts, you keep doing it.
It's so true.
That's the part that is, we don't get that. We don't get that.
But isn't that where the balance comes from, though?
The balance?
Yeah.
Well, that's where the clarity comes from. That's where the true desires come from. But if you hold yourself in the step one moment where you're asking, then you're not in the receptive mode. So it's really about balance, isn't it? It's about realizing that hurt and realizing how you got there. And that's really what we're talking about these days, because we really do get it. We want you to get that when you felt like this, that you're not going to end up on the rocks unless there's been this and this and this and this and this and this. And if you're aware of this, even if you're aware of this, even better, but even if you're only aware of this, you can avoid how the rock's hurting so much. But if you're aware of these feelings that are moving toward this manifestation that you don't want, then you can do something about it before the momentum makes it illogical to do something about it.
See, to me, that seems difficult because one of the things that I'm also aware of is that since I've started trying to clean up my vibration, that I'm aware that I focus on things that are further and further in the past, because the things that were more recent, I've sort of cleaned those up. I've gotten those things straightened out, and they become deeper and further back that I'm cleaning up those vibrations, and essentially, and then all of a sudden I have experiences where I'm finding myself slamming against something. I go, hold it, isn't this just the same thing that I've been slamming against for forever?
Well, maybe it is, but when you slam against it from your new perspective, at least you have greater clarity about it. In other words, at what point do you say to yourself, wait a minute, I was supposed to be having fun.
Right.
Wait a minute, I was supposed to be having fun here.
It does happen eventually. I mean, it just takes time, and I finally find myself there. But I also find that for my daughter, it's the thing of, I don't understand how to do that. So when I see her slamming against stuff, and I see her having these really strong emotions to things, sometimes the only thing I can do is something that you actually advise, is you just get in the vortex yourself and you show her the way.
Well, the reason that we have presented this deliberate creation in the way that we have is because you have picked up along your trail beliefs. Some of them serve you and some of them don't. So then we say you are the creator of your own reality, and you can think on purpose. And the way you know the effectiveness of the thought that you're thinking, the way you know how this thought is likely to turn out, because there are not instant manifestations, is that you feel the relationship between the thought you're thinking and your inner being. So then we begin talking to you about who you are, that you are source energy, and that you've come into this physical body, and that you are an extension of source energy, and there's a relationship between you and you. Well, at first this feels odd to you, but once you have heard that, because there is a resonance in it, because you know that, because you, after all, are an extension of source energy, now, next time you have an emotion, which you didn't mean to conjure, it just happened to you because of whatever you were observing, now you have some ability to reason with that. As you stop and think, what is this emotion telling me? It's telling me that I have a vantage point right now about this, that the broader part of me is not having. My inner being does not have the same opinion about this right here that I do. And now you have the freedom to hold on to your opinion, no matter how it feels, or to talk yourself into vibrational alignment with your broader point of view. And that's what your little one is in the process of figuring out. In other words, we really like it when you deliberately Try to feel your way into what the source within you knows.